playing online blackjack and want to try upping your odds? Well, here's a tip. Cheat cards tell you statistics for whether you hit or stand on every move. If you're into stats, this could be your ticket to winning. And it is totally legal. Now, go get lucky. See you in Lost Pages. Let's get lucky.
The Giants are probably going to open up 1-5 on the season. So then you start to say the fans are getting angry. They just want to see Dart. The ownership's like, hey, you know what? Maybe we make the right move with Russ here. But then you have self-preservation mode with the general manager and the head coach where it almost seems like it's inevitable. Midway through the season, it's going to have to be Jackson Dart. Otherwise, what are we doing, Giants?
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
It should be illegal for Scottie Scheffler to play on the PGA Tour. This guy can't be stopped. Another victory at the BMW Championship. He has a chip on the 17th, which will go down in the history books. 82 feet, landed 60 feet short, and then rolled the rest of the way. Super exciting win again for Scheffler, who is not only the best golfer in the world, he's becoming one of the best golfers of all time.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
It doesn't matter that they're early in the game, late in the game, they're trailing, they're leading. It doesn't matter, garbage time. CeeDee Lamb is the guy, and we saw that even after Dak got hurt last year and Cooper Rush was under center. Targets were going to CeeDee Lamb. And when you can get 9, 10, 12, 15 targets on a game-by-game basis, he's going to rack up fantasy points every single week. Frankly, he underperformed last year.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
Live from Brazil. Not us, but the game will be tonight. Chiefs-Chargers. Little AFC West action to get us going with yesterday starting the whole shebang. Eagles-Cowboys with Philadelphia winning, but not covering. And heartbreak for overbackers in that football game. Kevin Walsh with you here tonight on Game Time Decisions, where we will break it all down between the Chargers and the Chiefs. A very important game for both of these teams who look to improve on last season, because for KC, anything short of a Super Bowl, failure might be strong, but it's not as satisfying. The Chargers into the playoffs with Harbaugh, not victorious, as Herbert still looks for his postseason victory. You got to be in the dance first, and we know it's going to be tough to crack through in the AFC. We will break this full game down. We will talk about everything that happened last night, and we will also get you set up for the college football slate with Coach Terry Bowden joining the show in just 10 minutes' time. The baseball board is bountiful here on this Friday night. We'll take a stop over there. Heck, if you want to be involved in the WNBA, there are plenty of spots for you. Oh, and we've got big-time college football to preview before the weekend, and we have NFL Sunday lines to preview before the weekend. It is as busy as it gets, so let's hit the ground running with the best bets from myself and the team. Our guy, Sam Yarnell, goes to Alonzo Barnett for an anytime touchdown score. Takes the Duke's QB on the ground at plus 230. Chris keeps it with an alt-down parlay of Hampton for 50-plus rush receiving and Travis Kelce for 40 receiving against that Chargers defense, which he has had some monster games against throughout his career. I am taking the Chargers plus 3.5 in a divisional battle. This isn't just about it being a divisional battle, but I think it's important. There are a couple of divisional games that we have this weekend. And if you just said to yourself, in any that are out there where you are seeing over a field goal, you're going to take those points, I don't think it is a bad idea. That would have you in the mix in the Giants-Commanders game, as well as the Bengals and Browns. And then yesterday, it was the case, and here we are once again. that hook always important. It can take a push into a win. I think the Chargers are more than live to win this game. I have talked about how high I am on LA this year relative to the market. I think the Chargers have a chance not just to unseat Kansas City for the top of this division, but if that's true, it means they have a chance to be the number 1 seed in the AFC. How could that be? It starts with the man up top. No, not Justin Herbert. Jim Harbaugh. Jim Harbaugh has been a winner everywhere. In 5 regular seasons in the NFL, he's won 11 or more games in 4 of them. Harbaugh, by the way, you'll hear a lot about hot starts from Mahomes and Reed, and they're real. Harbaugh's never lost a week 1 game in his NFL career. And I think as he continues to get his handprints on this team, the identity, which we saw last year, and they continued to put together that strong regular season, I think year number 2, you could see another leap as we saw when he was in San Francisco. I know the offensive line is not as perfect as we thought it was going to be a month or so ago with the injury to Slater and a banged-up Mekhi Becton. But I still think there's plenty of pop up front. I think Amari Hampton wins Offensive Rookie of the Year. He's my pick. I think it is incredibly on the board that he has a better year than Ashton Genty. Genty's a better player. Situations matter. And I love the one that Amari Hampton is in L.A. The wide receiver room that Justin Herbert gets to play with should be better, simply just via a year 2 Ladder McConkey bump. But it's deeper. They threw a lot of options at it. Do they hit on a rookie like a Trey Harris or Keandre Lambert-Smith? Do they hit on Quentin Johnston finally as he enters his 3rd year as a pro? They even added a veteran in Keenan Allen, and Herbert himself has been good, at least in the regular season. The postseason questions will exist until he answers them. But last year's 23 touchdowns to 3 interceptions was great. And I felt he got more confident as a runner as it went on. And I think that that is relevant here. The other piece of this for Kansas City is I think it could be a relatively speaking down year. Even if the Chiefs' offense starts to figure some things out, the defense could take a bit of a step back. Also, for Kansas City, their ability to win 1-score games can be tested a little bit. They may not win every single one of them like they seemingly did last year. And that alone can take a Chiefs team from 15 wins to 10, 11 wins and see them in the wild card, potentially. But even if the Chiefs change nothing and they start the season 1-0, I might still walk away with a comfortable cover. Patrick Mahomes is 7-1 straight up against Justin Herbert. 4 of the 7 wins are by 3 exactly. I know a lot of people believe don't take points if you don't think the team can win, and I think the Chargers can win. But I know the Chargers can cover. We have seen this movie time and time again with KC. And let's not forget, this is a true neutral site game. The Chargers' home field advantage is made fun of often, and rightfully so, because a good fan base can come over and take over easily. But in São Paulo, Brazil, I think you're just going to have a raucous environment. 50-50, throw it in the air. So for 2 teams that I think are much closer than a 3.5-point spread would suggest, or even a field goal spread would suggest on a neutral site, I'm happy to take the Chargers in this divisional matchup. Now, there are a lot of guys that we're going to have our eyes on. Obviously, Amari Hampton. Xavier Worthy in year number 2. What does Travis Kelce still have in the tank? But there's no player more important in this game than Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes, a multi-time MVP, a multi-time Super Bowl MVP. In the last 2 regular seasons, has had his worst 2 regular seasons, failing to throw for 30 passing touchdowns in each. An uptick in interceptions, a huge drop in yards per pass attempt. And Kansas City has acknowledged the noise, acknowledged the drop-off, and even in the preseason, it felt as if the Chiefs were going to make a point to attack downfield more often. So time will tell. Does that lead, though, to even more Mahomes interceptions? Is there maybe still a period for KC to get fully acclimated to be the offense they want to be? I think that is possible. Let's not forget that Kansas City will be, for the first 6 weeks, without Rashee Rice, who projects as their number one receiver. We'll see what it looks like when everybody's out there, but those are the expectations for Rashee Rice. I think this will be an incredible game to follow, a tricky total to back. And my goodness, if you didn't, get a reminder on how tricky NFL totals can be in yesterday's Eagle-Cowboy game, 41 first-half points, 44 final points in a 24-20 game between the Eagles and the Cowboys that we will talk about more tonight. But we have a sneaky, huge college football game where one of the best teams in the G5 looks to stun a strong ACC outlet. We'll talk about it next with Coach.
Enter into the magical world of McLuck.com, where even the smallest of spins can win real cash prizes. Adventure into over 1,000 of the best Vegas-style slot games. So what are you waiting for? Unlock your free welcome offer today. Join the fun where winners play and players win.
Donnie, the season is 6 months, 5 if you check out in September. You're going to have a bad month. The Yankees had a horrible month. That is true. But beyond that, their regular season looks okay. They're going to win their 90 games or maybe a little bit more and get to the postseason. What is everybody freaking out about?
Everybody freaks out. It's the Yankee tax and the Yankee fan tax as well, where every single season you enter into the equation going like, it's championship or bust.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Remember these names: AZ Fudd, Olivia Miles, Lauren Betts. Depending on who wins that lottery, that's going to depend on who goes one. If Washington wins, it's Fudd. She's from the area. If Dallas wins, they're going to bring Fudd to play with, obviously, Paige. If Minnesota wins, I think they go Miles with the point. If Seattle wins, they go with Miles, and the same thing with Chicago.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
I was looking at it through my phone at first. I'm like, why is there such a delay? And why are we getting pitch hitters right away? Oh, the pitcher got thrown out for some reason. Maybe he hurt himself. But no, turning out and seeing a brawl was absolutely hilarious to let that one play out. Just the way it is sometimes in baseball. We don't get a lot of good fights and a lot of good brawls and anger, specifically from two teams that aren't going to the playoffs. So good on them for showing that moxie last time. But it's good to see a little bit of a brawl and a little bit of that passion here.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Did you know sportsbooks tend to draw up tighter bet lines for events that get even more bettors, like championship games or major matchups? My tip? Try betting on less popular sports. You might have a better shot at beating those odds. Now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
Game Time Decisions live on this Friday night, where we are, of course, talking football, not just pro, because the college game demands a little bit of attention with a really fun game between Louisville and James Madison. And to help us break this down and even put our eye towards the weekend, a legend of the game, that's Coach Terry Bowden. Coach, we appreciate you making some time here as we get ready for a fun one between a pretty talented G5 team in JMU going to Louisville, Kentucky.
James Madison sure is. I was in the Sun Belt. When they came into the Sun Belt 3 years ago, they had the highest budget in the conference the year they came in. Kurt Cignetti just tore up the league before he left, took a bunch of players, and now the new coach has them on. They were 9-4 last year, and they're preseason favorites to win the Sun Belt as well. This is a program that was been a great 1AA program, and now they've stepped into the top line of G5, but they've upped their competition this week. They're playing a Louisville team that right now the odds are about top 3. Clemson and Miami and Louisville sitting in that third spot with most of the odds makers, and it's going to be a great game, but buddy, I think James Madison's got to step up in competition this week.
Yeah, the interesting part here, Coach, you think back to last year with Boise State being the G5 representative in the college football playoff. Their one loss was to Oregon in a close game. So not only did that it was not held against them, it was really a positive. I'm sure James Madison would love to pull off the upset, but a 14.5-point line here, if they, even in a loss, they cover this number, maybe lose by 7, by 10, it would go a long way, Coach. What do you make of a 2-touchdown-plus line here on the road?
Well, I think it represents the talent level that Louisville has as well. You're talking about top 3 in the ACC, and when you talk about James Madison being able to be a top 3 team in the ACC, that's a little much. Now, I love this line when it was 13.5. When it got to 14.5, I'm a little more leery. Now, I'm going to stay with Louisville because I think Jeff Brom, the head coach, does a great job with quarterbacks. He's got Miller Moss from USC, but he likes to pad the score. He likes to run it up. He likes to score points, and if he has any chance, he's going to pad the scores on at the end to get the looks, to make it a glamorous type of win if he can add them together. So I do think Louisville will pull away, but I don't feel great about that like I did when it was 13.5.
Yeah, that is a key move there. Good eye by you to like it at 13.5. But, Coach, you mentioned tacking it on. Could be the case this weekend in Austin. Texas, a 36.5-point favorite against San Jose State. The reality, though, for Texas, and I think their fans, cover, fine. How does Arch Manning look? What do you think Sark, their head coach, Steve Sarkisian, will be looking to do for their young quarterback in Arch Manning off of the tough open to his season?
They need to give him a chance to just explode, to shine. Now, Arch will come back. He has too many good family members to give him support. He did not play well. I thought he was timid. It was typical. First, a young guy starting a big game for the first time at a place like the Horseshoe. But I think if I'm Sark, and he's an old quarterback too, you're going to see, give Manning a chance, Arch a chance to throw for about 350, 400 yards, 4 or 5 touchdown passes, build his confidence up. Now, this is a San Jose State team that lost to Central Michigan last week. There in no way they can hang with this team. And Texas, if there's a wrap, they don't play as well against the big teams. They don't run well enough. But when they get a team, they're a lot more talented than they are, like they do this week. I see if you want to help Arch out, throw the ball downfield. Sark said we had no explosive plays last week. So you watch Sark calling explosive plays. Watch Arch have a chance to put some good numbers up to build his confidence back up. Because, again, if you're a Texas fan, they lost to a very good Ohio State team by 7 points on the road, a different conference. They're still got a great season ahead of them.
Arch Manning this weekend with player props out for those in states where you can bet college player props. 263.5 is the passing yards. Over-under is 2.5 passing touchdowns, a number that has certainly caught my eye. Our only ranked game, Coach, is Oklahoma and Michigan. And you think about everything you just said with Arch, and at least he had a little experience. Bryce Underwood, a ton of talent. But as a true freshman to go to Norman, it is a big spot for Sharon Moore and his young quarterback. What are you expecting in this game?
Well, Michigan needs to run the football, and Texas needs to keep them from running as well as they can because Bryce Underwood is a true freshman. As talented he is, number one quarterback recruit in the country, he will not have ever been in an environment like Norman. I've coached in there a couple of times against good people. It'll be rocking with this team they've got. They really must run the football because if he had to throw it when he doesn't want to, it's going to be a problem. And remember, Brent Venables, the head coach, is a defensive coordinator, and he's going back to being the coordinator. I was with him 2 years at Clemson when they were so good there. Exotic blitzes. He's going to come up to that quarterback. So if Oklahoma can stop the run or slow the run down and make the quarterback Underwood pass more than he wants to, it's going to be in Oklahoma's favor, and that's what I think will be the difference. John Mateer, the quarterback from Washington State at Oklahoma, I thought he was the best quarterback in the portal last year. 3 years of starting experience. He's got all that veteran experience. He's battle-tested, and they brought his coordinator with him from Washington State. So I've got 5.5 on Oklahoma, and I'm riding at the line on that one.
That's going to be a really, really fun game.
Yeah.
Kind of a gotta-have-it game, I would almost say, for Coach Venables there. We will find out. Coach, we appreciate it so much. Legendary head coach, Coach Terry Batten. You can catch him on college football today here on SportsGrid tomorrow and all across the SportsGrid network. Again, Coach, we really appreciate it.
Thank you, man. Have some fun tonight.
All right, we absolutely will do our best. You know, I'll tell you, it doesn't take a lot for me to get excited about a game. I got to go figure out these moving Louisville lines, though, because that is going to be a good one tonight. Louisville brings Miller Moss in out of USC, a former quarterback for Lincoln Riley. There are expectations there as well. This is going to be a fun game to follow. We turn our attention, though, back towards Chargers-Chiefs here after the commercial break. Where is this number going to close, and how are the props going to be potentially impacted with a Week 1 divisional matchup? The running back rooms have a lot of interest. We break that all down for you next. It's Game Time Decisions, live on SportsGrid.
Want to play roulette? Here's a tip. European roulette has a lower house edge than American style. The lower the house edge, the better shot you have at winning. Most online casinos offer European roulette. So, if I were you, I'd get spinning. Now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
Like it or not, 18-year-olds dropped with a whole lot of lot of money in there. Boy,
Yeah.
I tell you, it changes people, Donnie, and it's a new reality that we better get used to in college football, because look at the kid from UCLA, former Tennessee quarterback, making millions of dollars. You really think he cares? They got absolutely embarrassed and trounced. The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
When is Caitlin Clark coming back? Is it in this regular season? Is it going to be to start the postseason? Is it not at all? It's one of the most fascinating things of this WNBA season that we aren't talking about with regularity because it's just been so long. And, I know it may not feel it, but Caitlin Clark's last game was the 15th of July.
Game Time Decisions, only on SportsGrid.
The Dallas Cowboys losing that pass rush, losing another big impact player on the defensive side, all this does is make me like Dak Prescott more and CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens more, because what we talked about all offseason, right, Matt, which is, hey, when Dak is healthy, he is a top 5 fantasy quarterback, and the defense we think is okay, but we think they're going to be in a lot of shootouts. Now I definitely think there's going to be a lot more shootouts.
Fantasy Sports Today, only on SportsGrid.
All right, we're live with you right here on Game Time Decisions on a Friday night. We'll jump over to the baseball board at the top of the hour. You guys know our guy Jared Hockman's going to stop by. We'll get a couple of picks out of him for Major League Baseball. We did just get Mets-Reds, already 3-0 Metsies, by the way. 1-0 Brewers-Pirates, and 1-0 White Sox-Tigers. So that's triple Yerfy to start the baseball board. Big-time game in Yankees-Blue Jays. We are going to do a couple of other Friday-centric picks here on the show, but we had a little bit of a friendship, Friday, Freaky Friday, 3-man weave situation. Sam appropriately backs the Dukes, catching 15.5 in a spot where, again, they love to pull off the upset. But hanging here against Louisville, that is a win for JMU before a bye, and then a really important game against Liberty. Chris goes to Amari and Hampton, anytime touchdown score. Makes a lot of sense to me. We'll talk more about that. If I'm on the baseball board tonight, I'm on it with an over in Dodgers-Orioles. Wind is blowing out. Kremer, usually you would think, oh, maybe this is going to be a bounce-back spot. I think he's not that good of a pitcher. I think the Dodgers hit him. The Dodgers lineup is due to kind of go off here a little bit. Baltimore has been playing much better, and I think their lineup is due enough here to play through that listed total. So that is where that is all set up, all right? I'll re-rack the best bets just because Sam's is going to be tied to that JMU game, which is going to be starting pretty soon. Alonzo Barrett, anytime touchdown score, that's plus 230. That's the quarterback for the Dukes. Hampton for 50-plus rush receiving, parlayed with Kelsey for 40-plus receiving for Chris. You guys know I'm all about the Chargers, plus 3.5. Double dog to start these primetime games here in this NFL season. I like where I'm at with the LA Chargers. Now, the one Kansas City angle that I am in on and I have played in no sweats and parlays, and if you said, like, hey, I just, play it straight, sure. It is Isaiah Pacheco. And this is something for me that has developed throughout the offseason, and the more I look at it, Kareem Hunt should not be half the number of Pacheco. He should be much lower. And that means that Pacheco, to me, should be higher. Kareem Hunt came in and filled in for Isaiah Pacheco admirably. But Kareem Hunt did nothing, and I mean nothing, to force his way to being some focal point for this Kansas City offense. When it was all said and done, Kareem Hunt averaged just over 3.5 yards a carry. Pacheco, 2 seasons ago, when healthy, 4.6. His rookie season, where he became the man for KC despite being a 7th-round pick, was at 4.9. Pacheco's the better back and is healthier and was the guy throughout the preseason. I think Pacheco's the guy. I think he makes a lot of sense in the anytime touchdown scorer market, though I think Mahomes is going to want to be tossing touchdowns here in a primetime spot. I expect, I'm not playing this total. I'm being cautious on our totals. I'm so glad I wasn't involved in yesterday's total. I feel awful for those who are on the over. I'm just glad I wasn't in the mix, right? I think there can be points here, but I think there is undeniable value on Pacheco. I believe he is still their clear-cut RB1. I don't think this is like a committee type of situation tonight. I don't think Xavier Worthy should be plus 115 to score compared to a plus 165 Pacheco. Even Hampton, who you guys know, I really like and can score, and I like Chris's pick. But I think Hampton still has more of a threat in a rookie making his league debut with a Najee Harris behind him than Pacheco does, entering his 4th season a member of the Kansas City Chiefs. One other quick thing, just because it may get lost in the shuffle. There's a lot happening in the WNBA kind of all at once. Caitlin Clark's done for the season. Gut-wrenching for the league. Really brutal for Indiana. They will make the playoffs, but they will not be able to make noise without Caitlin Clark in the mix. Angel Reese, suspended tonight against the Fever for accruing too many technical fouls, and then in the next game the Sky play will be suspended for the first half by her team for comments considered detrimental to the team, because Angel Reese basically said, if we don't get better players, I'm going to leave. Kind of wild mid-season from Angel Reese. Even if valid, kind of wild. And then, from an odds perspective, Aja Wilson is now minus 130 to win league MVP favorite because of the Aces win against the Lynx last night to make it 13 straight, where Aja scored 31. Incredible stuff going on in the W. We talk a little baseball, a little football. Jared Hockman next.
Want to play roulette? Here's a tip. European roulette has a lower house edge than American style. The lower the house edge, the better shot you have at winning. Most online casinos offer European roulette. So, if I were you, I'd get spinning. Now, go get lucky. See you in Lost Pages. Let's get lucky.
Like it or not, 18-year-olds dropped with a heck of a lot of money in there. Boy, I tell you, it changes people, Donnie, and it's a new reality that we better get used to in college football because look at the kid from UCLA, former Tennessee quarterback, making millions of dollars. You really think he cares? They got absolutely embarrassed and trounced.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
When is Caitlin Clark coming back? Is it in this regular season? Is it going to be to start the postseason? Is it not at all? It's one of the most fascinating things of this WNBA season that we aren't talking about with regularity because it's just been so long. I know it may not feel it, but Caitlin Clark's last game was the 15th of July.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
The Dallas Cowboys losing that pass rush, losing another big impact player on the defensive side, all this does is make me like Dak Prescott more and CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens more because what we talked about all offseason, right, Matt, which is, hey, when Dak is healthy, he is a top 5 fantasy quarterback, and the defense we think is okay, but we think they're going to be in a lot of shootouts. Now I definitely think there's going to be a lot more shootouts.
Fantasy Sports Today, only on SportsGrid.
Game time decisions. Let's hit the ground running. Kevin Walsh with you now, joined by Jared Hochman. Joins us from Covers.com. Does an excellent job covering a full slate. And we have ourselves a full slate here tonight, Jared. I just want to ask you about this Yankees-Blue Jays game. You know these teams well. I think one of the most fascinating elements of this Yankees team is Cam Schlittler, where the numbers, the pricing, Ace sounds strong with Fried and Rodon, but the books love this guy up against Gausman tonight. Just curious your outlook around that game and an incredibly important series.
Yeah, Kev, I mean, Schlittler's pitched well for the Yankees. I still get a little nervous sometimes. You see, he's got a great fastball, great velocity, easy motion. But you do see his secondary pitches still leave a little bit to be desired. You face a Blue Jays team that's cooking right now offensively. It could lead to trouble. He did pitch well against them the last time out, but it makes you a little nervous. Gosman's the wild card. I mean, he's kind of been up and down. He might go 6 strong. He might give up 8 runs. We're not sure. The thing that's going to come down for this is the bullpens. Blue Jays bullpen has been well documented. It's a bit of a nightmare over the last few weeks. Yankees, again, kind of a mixed bag. You've seen Luke Weaver giving up home runs. You've seen Devin Williams struggle. You don't know what's really going to happen here. But the Yankees have really struggled against good teams. They struggled to beat the Jays. They struggled to beat Boston. As a Yankees fan, I'm a little nervous right now. And until they beat some of those other good AL teams, it's hard not to go with Blue Jays, who just seem to be playing a little bit more consistently better baseball.
Yeah, I think this is a spot where if the Yankees have, turned any type of corner by winning a couple of games in Houston, you'll really find out. I will stick on the Astros side of it, even if it's not the most upcoming game, because the Astros, a team that Jared, bet to in the American League, and throughout the year, I'm like, oh, they're the best team. They're the best team. I kind of lost a lot of faith during that Yankee series. The Yankees being basically minus 130 or higher in every single one of the games in Houston, I think said a lot. But the one silver lining, and you know exactly where I am going with this, Yordan Alvarez. 2 straight 4-hit games to close out that series. If he's back, well, that might change some things here. He's batting, I don't care that it's 3 games, a 714 batting average so far in September, and you're going to back Yordan Alvarez tonight.
Absolutely. Listen, when Yordan Alvarez is hot, I don't think there's anyone better or scarier in baseball. That lefty stance, he doesn't move. It's just terrifying. They're facing Texas tonight. I know Merrill Kelly's pitched well, but when Yordan's hot, you got to cash in, Kev. The only thing is, I'm looking at his 2+ hits. I think you can get this around like plus 195, plus 190. The reason why his total bases is only minus 120, his hits, runs, RBI is like minus 160. But you said 8 for his last 10. I think he's got 4 multi-hit games in his last 5. Like, he's just destroying everything. And he is the ultimate equalizer for this Houston team. He's the guy that I still think back to that home run against Robbie Ray a couple years ago in the playoffs, like the moon shots, big hits. When it matters most, he delivers. This is a big game for Houston. Texas is still kind of hanging around. I think Jordan's going to keep mashing. So let's swing big on him, almost 2-1 odds.
Yeah, I just to add for Jordan, because it is one of, I think Jared and I have talked about this before. One of my favorite things in Major League Baseball is the very beginning of the season where like a 3-game hot streak can completely change your average. Jordan missed so much time. He was hitting 206 like 5 games ago, and now he's batting 273 for the season. One spot you're going to get involved with, and I had considered it, but actually the other side. I stayed away, though, Jared. Braves Mariners, Sale Gilbert. For me, I know Logan Gilbert is a really quality pitcher. Sale is as well, but he did just come back. Very good in that first start, but you never know. Also, I think maybe I've been burned by Atlanta throughout some times, being like, come on, they're rightfully favored, and then they let up. You're trusting Sale, though, at home in this spot.
I am, and it's not just Sale. I'm just trusting, and this is weird to say, I'm trusting Atlanta a little bit more than Seattle. You look at Seattle, listen, they've lost 5 of 6 and 14 out of 20. Like, they're kind of free falling right now. They're hitting 228 as a team in that span. The Braves, have also in a bit of a rut, but they haven't been as bad offensively. I think, they're basically 6th in runs in that same time frame, so they've been able to scrape a little bit together. You've got 2 good pitchers. I just think Sale's going to be a little bit more dominant. He said 2-month hiatus, comes back, 6 innings, 3 hits, 9 strikeouts against the Phillies. Gilbert is a quality arm. It's going to be a close one. I'm just taking a little bit better offense right now, and what I think is just a little bit better starting pitcher. So I'm going to go with the Braves money line there. Just kind of take it, think Sale's going to dominate again.
Yeah, and again, he might, because Chris Sale, when available this year, has been absolutely dominant. Quickly, the Red Sox, before we get over to the NFL, fading Eduardo Rodriguez, simple as that?
Yeah, pretty much. He shut out the Dodgers over 6 innings in his last outing somehow, but gave up 4+ runs in 3 of his last 4. It's an ERA north of 5. Boston's missing Roman Anthony, but they're still hitting about 265 against lefties since April 1st. You got Ref Snyder, Abreu, Story, Bregman all hitting well. Yeah, that you basically summed it up there. I'm fading Erod. Give me the Red Sox team total over 4.5. I think they're going to do some more damage to the southpaw there.
All right, what do we think here? Chargers, Chiefs. We're in Brazil for this one, Jared. I'm on the Chargers in this spot, 3.5. I think now minus 120. I don't know, 2 days ago, minus 117. I'll take the hook because the Chiefs winning by 3 is something that they routinely do. What stood out to you when going through this game?
Well, I saw one of Chris's best bet was Amari and Hampton touchdown. That's actually my favorite play there, too. I love it. Listen, if the Chargers are going to keep this close, and I think they will, Hampton's going to be a big part of it. This is a run-first offense, with Roman and Harbaugh. I know they lost Rashawn Slater, the left tackle. That is a big loss. They're still going to commit to the ground game. I mean, the Chargers managed, 13 TDs out of J.K. Dobbins and Gus Edwards last year, neither of which are nearly as dynamic as Hampton is. He's going to get the full assortment of touches. This has come down a bit. It was as high as plus 175 earlier in the day, which is crazy for a bona fide RB1. Still like plus 150, plus 145 you can get it at. I still love the value there. I've seen it as low as plus 130. So I'm thinking Hampton, he's going to be a big part of this offense. Take some pressure off Herbert and McConkey in the passing game, especially if they get in close there. If he can catch the ball a little bit too. So I think the rookie's going to make a big impact in his first game. And as long as we get no weather delays, everything goes smooth, I think he's got to find pay dirt there.
Listen, I stay up late, so I wasn't as harmed by that as everyone else. But again, last night's game was not kind to people. The whole thing, it was crazy. Jared, I want to quickly look to the weekend. I know there's 2, but in case we get cut short on time, there's one I have to ask you about. You know where I'm going. You got. Yeah, I don't have to say anymore. Tell the people one of your favorite looks already for this weekend.
This is like my sicko bet of the week, absolutely. And it is Aaron Rodgers to get 1 rushing yard. That's it. Wow. Plus 150. Plus, Kevin, it's a crazy price. I know. He's pretty immobile, but like 1 yard. He's an extra year removed from the knee injury. He did have a rushing attempt in 9 of his 17 games last year, and he had positive yardage in 4 out of his last 7. My thing, though, is he's facing the Jets. This is the revenge game. I mean, the Jets flew him in just to say goodbye, and now he's facing them the first week. He's going to want to kind of stick it to New York, show them that he's got something left in the tank, both with his arms and with his legs. Listen, I'll take a 3-yard scramble, step up to avoid a sack and fall forward. Like, literally anything gets us this plus money bet. So let's go with A-Rod to cash the rushing yard to prop there.
Yeah, I actually think it's one of those spots where you can envision it so clearly of Rodgers, little scamper to pick up a 3rd and 2, crowd boos, big smile, this guy. Jared, can you make a 15-second case for the Dolphins against the Colts?
Danny Dimes favorite at home? No, thank you. That's it.
Yep, nailed it. Absolutely nailed it. Hey, that's why I asked. I knew you could. Jared, appreciate it as always. We go back to Brazil next right here. It is Game Time Decisions live with you. Keep our eye on this Louisville JMU game as well on SportsGrid.
Enter into the magical world of McLuck.com, where even the smallest of spins can win real cash prizes. Adventure into over 1,000 of the best Vegas-style slot games. So what are you waiting for? Unlock your free welcome offer today. Join the fun where winners play and players win.
Donnie, the season is 6 months, 5 if you check out in September. You're going to have a bad month. The Yankees had a horrible month. That is true. But beyond that, their regular season looks okay. They're going to win their 90 games or maybe a little bit more and get to the postseason. What is everybody freaking out about?
Everybody freaks out. It's the Yankee tax and the Yankee fan tax as well, where every single season you enter into the equation going like, it's championship or bust.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Remember these names: AZ Fudd, Olivia Miles, Lauren Betts. Depending on who wins that lottery, that's going to depend on who goes what. If Washington wins, it's Fudd. She's from the area. If Dallas wins, they're going to bring Fudd to play with obviously Paige. If Minnesota wins, I think they go Miles with the point. If Seattle wins, they go with Miles, and the same thing with Chicago.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
I was looking at it through my phone at first. I'm like, why is there such a delay? And why are we getting pitch hitters right away? Oh, the pitcher got thrown out for some reason. Maybe he hurt himself. But no, turning out and seeing a brawl was absolutely hilarious to let that one play out. Just the way it is sometimes in baseball. We don't get a lot of good fights and a lot of good brawls in anger, specifically from two teams that aren't going to the playoffs. So good on them for showing that moxie last time. But it's good to see a little bit of a brawl and a little bit of that passion here.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Did you know sportsbooks tend to draw up tighter bet lines for events that get even more bettors, like championship games or major matchups? My tip? Try betting on less popular sports. You might have a better shot at beating those odds. Now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
Game Time Decisions right here on SportsGrid on a Friday night. Important update in the game between the Chiefs and the Chargers. Mekhi Becton active. That is, of course, big. Mekhi Becton, a former first-rounder for the Jets, struggled to find his footing, goes to the Philadelphia Eagles under Jeff Stoutland, has a great year, a Super Bowl champion, and paid by the Chargers to pump up this offensive line that's already lost Rashawn Slater to go into game one, then without Becton would have been a tough blow. That will not be the case. The most up-to-date lines that we are seeing right now for this football game, 3 almost everywhere, but some 3.5, minus 120, a minus 125. You know, we know there's all profit boosts out there. If you want to start to try and slash that down, you can a little bit, all, varying degrees. Total-wise, we continue to tick up. 47.5, just about everywhere. One loose 47 sitting around. I'm not involved with this total here tonight. I think it could be a well over. I'm happy to stay away. Again, I actually I took some time today to start to really eye up the totals for Sunday, just a little bit extra. Not a lot of strong, boom, too light. We'll see when we get to Sunday what really starts to jump out. I thought that I would start to really like totals early for the NFL Sunday. This just wasn't the case. We're going to continue to bet our sides, though, just like we are tonight with the Chargers at plus 3.5. Do want to quickly just acknowledge the rest of this Major League Baseball board here where, Louisville JMU. Maybe you don't have an eye on it. Maybe you're late to turn the game on. Louisville went 3 and out. JMU on their first or second play ran a trick play, double pass. Looked like a wide receiver screen. Man was going down the field, wide open. If you put it on him, it's 7-0 JMU. That's a missed opportunity that legitimately could be the difference in JMU pulling off an upset. But it shows that this is a Super Bowl-style, no-holds-bar game for the Dukes. And that's important when you're dealing with a 14.5-point line that if Louisville punts again here, facing a third down, this thing is going to drop underneath 2 touchdowns undoubtedly. Now the baseball board, all right? 3-0 Mets still. Pirates tied it up with the Brewers. The Pirates just swept the LA Dodgers. Not a sentence anybody expected this year. Dodgers have struggled with bad teams throughout this season. I feel like that's a little bit a part of the story of their season. Still 1-0 Tigers. Yankees, Blue Jays just getting underway, as is the Braves-Mariners game and Marlins-Phillies, which is already 1-0 Philadelphia. Chris Sanchez gets the ball for Philly. Other spots tonight on that baseball board, it's Rays, Guardians, Tampa Bay just swept Seattle. Pablo Lopez returns for Minnesota. Despite the bad record, the long season, if these guys are healthy, they're going to go out there. He's up against Michael Wacha in an AL Central battle. Stros Rangers is pick in Texas with Merrill Kelly getting the baseball tonight for the Rangers. You have Cardinals, Giants in St. Louis. You've got the Angels and the A's with the unpredictable, occasionally unhittable Jose Soriano favored at home against the A's. Red Sox team total was a look for our guy Jared, who stopped by. And then you get Padres Rockies in a fascinating one in Coors. Big time total as always. Nick Pavetta's been good, so it keeps it to 10.5 instead of those 11.5s. For me, who wanted to bet the Padres here a little bit, impossible, I feel, to know what we are going to get out of Kyle Freeland, or at least, I guess, how I like to, bet these games where is it a bounce back? Is it a sell high, regression, positive or negative? Kyle Freeland pitched that game against the Giants, and 2 batters in, gave up 2 hits, including a nearly 400-foot home run to Rafael Devers, and then got in a brawl and was thrown out of the game. So, due for a good game, due for a bad game, kind of hard to tell. All in all, for Kyle Freeland, it's a game I wanted to bet the Padres. I stayed away. The Padres, people have been talking about this. They are not playing good baseball. They have lost 4 in a row. But the saving grace for the Padres, a saving grace even for the Mets during their struggles, the Reds have absolutely blown it. The Reds are now not even the next closest NL wildcard team. It's actually a pretty hot San Francisco Giants group. The Reds, if they lose this game to the Mets, which they are currently down 3-0 in, 4-0. Unbelievable, man. You would have thought that, and I know it's still like a big series as Vientos hits a home run, but you would have thought this would have been a big series. the Reds, if they lose, are under 500. Season just fell apart. They were 67-60. Felt like they were going to be live to make some noise. Just not the case. They're better than that 70-70 record. But they just have not put it together this year. A disappointing group. And from a World Series future perspective, I will enter into the baseball playoffs almost assuredly a full free agent. So we will see how that all trends. An update on what your WNBA lines are for tonight. If you are going to bet some W, Dream and the Sparks go once more. Atlanta, who won and covered the most recent matchup, are 6-point favorites. Still no Alicia Gray for Atlanta. The Fever lay 11 to the sky. Chicago with Angel Reese and without Angel Reese. Very different teams. No Angel Reese tonight for a 10-30 Chicago Sky group. Total in that one is 162. Same total in Storm Liberty as the New York Liberty are a dog in Seattle. I get it, no Sabrina Ionescu. It speaks volumes to the fall from grace that we have seen from the Liberty, the complete inverse of what has happened with the Vegas Aces. I know a lot of that has been injury related to the Liberty. They were in Golden State. They were 6.5-point favorites. They lose that game. They are 8-12 on the road. It has been brutal. College football talk is next.
Want to play roulette? Here's a tip. European roulette has a lower house edge than American style. The lower the house edge, the better shot you have at winning. Most online casinos offer European roulette. So, if I were you, I'd get spinning. Now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
Like it or not, 18-year-olds dropped with a whole heck of a lot of money in there. Boy, yeah. I tell you, it changes people, Donnie, and it's a new reality that we better get used to in college football because look at the kid from UCLA, former Tennessee quarterback, making millions of dollars. You really think he cares? They got absolutely embarrassed and trounced.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
When is Caitlin Clark coming back? Is it in this regular season? Is it going to be to start the postseason? Is it not at all? It's one of the most fascinating things of this WNBA season that we aren't talking about with regularity because it's just been so long. I know it may not feel it, but Caitlin Clark's last game was the 15th of July.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
The Dallas Cowboys losing that pass rush, losing another big impact player on the defensive side, all this does is make me like Dak Prescott more and CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens more because what we talked about all offseason, right, Matt, which is, hey, when Dak is healthy, he is a top 5 fantasy quarterback, and the defense we think is okay, but we think they're going to be in a lot of shootouts. Now I definitely think there's going to be a lot more shootouts.
Fantasy sports today, only on SportsGrid.
All right, back with you right here on SportsGrid. A couple of audibles, but we're live with you, and everything's great. Everything's moving fantastically. We're going to do the 3 big college football games in a half hour. Before we get out of here, we'll also get a couple of NFL picks for myself and the crew, some props, things that have stood out to us already before we get out of here, okay? In about 20 minutes, we're going to talk to Alex Insdorf, who covers the LA Chargers before kickoff, which is great. Made some time for us. Fantastic. What we're going to do now for about the next 15 minutes is a treat for all of you. talk to our guy Brady Cannon, who does, of course, you all know, an excellent job covering the golf world, but does just as good of a job covering the NFL world, specifically the sides, the spread betting. To make sure I don't forget, Brady, remind everybody about some of the now reintroduced content you're bringing to the table here this NFL season.
Yeah, in fact, we just sent the show over to the team over at SportsGrid, and it should be up on the SportsGrid YouTube channel here pretty quickly. But that is the Las Vegas Football Contest Show, Week 1. Here it is, right? So we're playing for keeps at this point. We've had a couple of preseason episodes to kind of, whet the appetite. But now, we're on there releasing our picks, our 5 picks in Circa Million and our 5 picks in the Westgate Super Contest. And then we also have 3 entries into Circa Survivor, and we've got those picks released for you as well. It's myself, another former Super Contest champion, James Salinas, one of the best NFL handicappers you will ever find. He won this contest in 2015, and oh, by the way, after he won it, the next year he finished 3rd. And then we also have a player perspective. Mike Pritchard, who was a #1 draft choice, the 13th player selected overall by the Atlanta Falcons, played 9 years in the NFL. So, a couple of contest players and then the NFL perspective. It's a pretty cool show. We break down all the games from both a betting and a contest perspective, which, as you know, Kevin, can be very different.
Oh, 100%. And a lot of, truly, what I know about it, I've learned from Brady. It's been a lot of fun. We will, on most, if not all, Tuesdays, talk to Brady about the opens of these lines and kind of what's moving. So let's just do this, though, Brady, and tell me, tonight's game, even yesterday's game, are those a part of the contest? Are those lines that you looked at? And what did you make of yesterday's number and today's, a couple of divisional spreads that we're dealing with?
Well, it's funny. I was on a couple of shows yesterday and said I did have the Philadelphia Eagles in a teaser, and that got home. I had them teased down to -1. But I said if I was going to do anything else with this game, I kind of like under the total. And the first half goes by, and I'm going, oh boy, how'd that go? Miraculously, the total comes in, the under comes in. Absolutely unbelievable.
Yeah.
I'm kind of glad I didn't have money on it because, boy, that would not have been good for my heart. But, hey, fun game. I was kind of more impressed with Dallas, really, than Philadelphia. Dak Prescott looked really good. He had a lot of receivers drop balls for him, the running. But, the Philadelphia defense is a concern, I believe. And I think they need some leadership on that side of the ball. I mean, Jalen Carter, the spitting incident, now Jalen Hurts, that guy, he's a leader, and boy, did he show up last night. But it looks like this doesn't look like a Super Bowl champion that we saw in January and February of last year. It appears they do have some flaws. As far as tonight's game, Kevin, I do not have a single play on tonight's game. And I'll tell you, right off the bat, and I know some people I respect a ton that do like the under tonight again. Now, it miraculously got there last night. I tend to agree with the under tonight as well. But, right off the bat, one of the things I will look at, in week 1 every single season is I want to bet against the Super Bowl loser. Well, the team that lost the Super Bowl last year is the Kansas City Chiefs, and that has been a profitable position to bet against the Super Bowl loser in week 1. But then you also have on the other side the Los Angeles Chargers, who technically this is their 3rd straight road game. And that's not a situation I like. They played their last 2 preseason games on the road, and now they're traveling to Brazil. So conflicting situations here for me with this one. I'll stay away and watch and see if I can learn something about both of these squads going into 2025.
I think it's going to be really fun to follow, but as somebody who thinks the Chargers will actually unseat the Chiefs this year at the top of the AFC West and actually getting a true neutral site game as opposed to the Chargers' fake home field advantage with a hook sitting out there, I'm happy to play the Chargers in this spot. Let's figure out, though, what stood out to Brady for this weekend as we have Week 1 NFL Sunday lines with some things starting to move around. We'll break that down next with you here on SportsGrid.
Want to play roulette? Here's a tip. European roulette has a lower house edge than American style. The lower the house edge, the better shot you have at winning. Most online casinos offer European roulette. So, if I were you, I'd get spinning. Now, go get lucky. See you in Lost Pages. Let's get lucky.
Like it or not, 18-year-olds dropped with a whole heck of a lot of money in there. Boy, yeah. I tell you, it changes people, Donnie, and it's a new reality that we better get used to in college football because look at the kid from UCLA, former Tennessee quarterback, making millions of dollars. You really think he cares? They got absolutely embarrassed and trounced.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
When is Caitlin Clark coming back? Is it in this regular season? Is it going to be to start the postseason? Is it not at all? It's one of the most fascinating things of this WNBA season that we aren't talking about with regularity because it's just been so long. I know it may not feel it, but Caitlin Clark's last game was the 15th of July.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
The Dallas Cowboys losing that pass rush, losing another big impact player on the defensive side, all this does is make me like Dak Prescott more and CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens more because what we talked about all offseason, right, Matt, which is, hey, when Dak is healthy, he is a top 5 fantasy quarterback, and the defense we think is okay, but we think they're going to be in a lot of shootouts. Now I definitely think there's going to be a lot more shootouts.
Fantasy Sports Today, only on SportsGrid.
Game time decisions here on a Friday night, getting you ready for Chargers Chiefs. We will continue to do that over the next 30 minutes. In-game live with Gabriel Morency and Scott Wetzel starts the top of the hour, where they will be with you for the entirety of that game. And unless the weather delays it, they will be there for the entirety of that game. But we're also trying to get you ready for Sunday as much as we can here on this show. And that's why we have Brady Cannon with us. Brady, there's a game that I want to ask you about where the number is probably going to start to move. And I think we get then the opportunity to deal with the craziness of week one, factor in the contest aspect of it, and all of these different things. And that's the San Francisco 49ers on the road against the Seattle Seahawks. Because, oh no, once again, it's week one and we don't know if McCaffrey's going to play. And that was a disaster that kicked off last year's Monday night game, Niners-Jets, and it may kick off a Sunday game in the NFC West, where if McCaffrey is ruled out, albeit it probably wouldn't be until 2:30, 3 o'clock, I think Seattle could close as a favorite in this game. How do you balance a moving number here in a divisional matchup?
Well, I like the Seahawks side with McCaffrey or no McCaffrey.
Okay.
And as far as Seattle going to the favorite, I'm not sure if it would get to that point, Kevin, because then you're telling me basically that Christian McCaffrey is worth 3 points. I don't know if he's worth that much. A really good quarterback could be worth 4 or 5, maybe 6 points. I don't know if a running back is worth 3 points. And again, that's not my area of expertise. I'm not a bookmaker, but I'm guessing McCaffrey's probably worth maybe 2 points. That's maybe 2.5. I think it's interesting that the 49ers aren't favored by 3 here. It's really been 2.5 forever. Now, obviously, if McCaffrey is not going to play, then that will change. But, it's also kind of the same philosophy with the New England Patriots and the Las Vegas Raiders. If everybody really thinks the Patriots are all that, why aren't they a 3-point favorite? Sitting on 2.5 kind of tells you that maybe the dog has a fighting chance, and I think Seattle certainly does here in this opener, even though San Francisco has really owned Seattle in their building the last few times they've matched up. But I think the Seattle running game is good. Sam Darnold is obviously familiar with the 49ers system. He's been in that building before. I think he'll be fine. I think he has weapons, and including the running game that I mentioned. I think the Seattle defense, I think this is going to be a really competitive game. I think I think the division is very competitive. I think every team in this division is pretty decent. There's no great team in the NFC West. I think any one of them could win it. You might see every team in this division win 9 or 10 games, it seems like. 10 is probably a long shot, but I think 9, if every team won 9 games or at least in this division, I would not be surprised. And so with that being said, if these two teams are relatively equal, yeah, you take the home team with the points. Just aside from all that, week 1, home division underdogs have been profitable for many years. You also have the offensive coordinator for Seattle, Kubiak, who worked for the 49ers and Kyle Shanahan. He's very familiar with that system and what they're going to be running. Robert Saleh really brought the defense of the Seattle Seahawks to San Francisco. So there's a lot of similarities and familiarity with these two teams. They really know each other inside and out. I think that breeds a very competitive game. Yeah, give me 2 and a hook. And if it's less than that, I wouldn't feel great about it, but that would maybe dictate that McCaffrey's not going to play, and that certainly changes things.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see if CMC is in the lineup for Seattle. He's a superstar. On Sunday Night Football, we get a couple of superstars in Buffalo and Baltimore. The incredible thing to me, Brady, and you and I talk about this a lot, and we will talk about it a lot this season because it's certainly how my brain works, is the concept of home field advantage. And some people laugh at me. Luckily, Brady is not one of them. But I understand that saying, hey, it matters if Baltimore is -1.5 and Buffalo is 1.5. People say that is ridiculous. No, it doesn't matter. And I don't care. Yes, it does. That's a field goal. That is a full 3 points if one team's -1.5 and all of a sudden they're +1.5. This is an incredible thing to me, even just the lead up to this season, Brady. Everybody agrees that Baltimore is super, super, super talented. But I think we have another instance again where the books are telling us definitively the best team in the league entering this season is the Baltimore Ravens.
Yeah, it's interesting how you're spinning that, and I don't disagree with you. I think the book is telling us maybe both of these teams are certainly a couple of the best teams in the NFL. I mean, Buffalo was the favorite for a long time, right? It's just flipped in the last couple of days. And I agree with you. There's a 3-point straddle there, which is large. But at the same time, one team being a 1 or 1.5 point favorite versus the other team. Again, there's not a whole lot of difference in that this game is basically a pick 'em. The book is just saying, hey, this team is going to win. And now the market has shifted saying this team's going to win. So it's not like we're out to a point spread where they're necessarily winning by margin. It's basically just the market shifting, saying who's going to win this ball game. And I think there's a lot of sentiment out there for the Baltimore Ravens because it's that quote unquote playoff revenge, right? And I'm a firm believer in that. John Harbaugh has also been excellent in week 1 season opener games, has a great track record there. So does Buffalo. So there's a lot of conflicting information here. 2 obviously very, very good teams. I mentioned the Los Angeles Chargers playing 3 straight road games. Their last 2 preseason games were on the road. That same situation applies to the Baltimore Ravens. Those are the only 2 teams in the NFL that are starting week 1 on the road that also played their final 2 preseason games on the road. And that's not a situation I necessarily want to buy into either. So this will be another game, Kevin, that I'll be sitting back and watching and will not have a play on it. If I had to make a play, I kind of like the playoff revenge angle more so than the 3 road games in a row. But that is not a profitable situation. We have seen that be, an Achilles heel for teams in week 1 games of the past. So it's a stay away. It's a learning experience for me on what to expect out of these 2 teams in 2025.
Brady, last one I'll ask you about here, and we appreciate it again on this Friday night. But you mentioned narratives. Few louder than Cincinnati week 1 narratives, because for a couple of consecutive seasons, they've opened the season as a favorite against a team not expected to be all that good. And the next thing you know, they lose that football game. Well, here we are. Cincinnati's laying 5.5 on the road against the Browns team that is supposed to be terrible. What have you heard? What do you make of a 5.5 point spread here between the Bengals and the Browns?
Well, you've got another division home dog here, right? Which is the side you're supposed to play. That's a profitable situation. It wins more often than it does not. But I'm scared of backing this Browns team. I don't know how good they're going to be or how lousy they're going to be. Myles Garrett, a little banged up. We're not sure if he'll play or not. Jim Schwartz's defense, we expect to be very good otherwise. Joe Flacco, yeah, he was a nice shot in the arm a couple years ago for Cleveland, but does he still have anything left in the tank? I'm not sure. I'm not going to mess with this game from an against the spread perspective, Kevin. If I could get 6, maybe you could talk me into taking Cleveland, but that number is long gone. However, I believe the Cincinnati Bengals are a pretty sneaky survivor play. I think they will find a way to win this game. And it's like the whole world wants nothing to do with the Cincinnati Bengals in a survivor league because they burned everybody last year when they lost to New England. It's widely publicized how lousy they've been in September. Zach Taylor's job is on the line if he fails in September again. And so I think you're going to be in the minority if you actually play the Bengals to win a game here in week 1 in whatever survivor contest you're playing. I think it's kind of a sneaky contrarian pick to play on the Bengals to win this game outright. That is the play I would have, if anything, here.
I could not agree more, because a lot of people last year picked Cincinnati to beat New England. Guess what? Me too. But I'm willing to touch that stove again. And again, it's probably because I'm crazy, and I think the Cincinnati Bengals are going to win the Super Bowl. We'll get into that another time, though, Brady. Appreciate it as always. We'll go back to Chargers Chiefs next.
Want to play roulette? Here's a tip. European roulette has a lower house edge than American style. The lower the house edge, the better shot you have at winning. Most online casinos offer European roulette. So, if I were you, I'd get spinning. Now, go get lucky. See you in Lost Pages. Let's get lucky.
Like it or not, 18-year-olds dropped with a whole heck of a lot of money in there. Boy, yeah. I tell you, it changes people, Donnie, and it's a new reality that we better get used to in college football, because look at the kid from UCLA, former Tennessee quarterback, making millions of dollars. You really think he cares? They got absolutely embarrassed and trounced.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
When is Caitlin Clark coming back? Is it in this regular season? Is it going to be to start the postseason? Is it not at all? It's one of the most fascinating things of this WNBA season that we aren't talking about with regularity because it's just been so long. I know it may not feel it, but Caitlin Clark's last game was the 15th of July.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
The Dallas Cowboys losing that pass rush, losing another big impact player on the defensive side, all this does is make me like Dak Prescott more and CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens more, because what we talked about all offseason, right, Matt, which is, hey, when Dak is healthy, he is a top 5 fantasy quarterback, and the defense we think is okay, but we think they're going to be in a lot of shootouts. Now I definitely think there's going to be a lot more shootouts.
Fantasy sports today, only on SportsGrid.
Chargers Chiefs tonight in Brazil. We look around. Looks to be 3 pretty much everywhere for the Chargers. You'd have to buy that hook up until this point. 47.5 your total, nearly everywhere as well. There's a lot of interesting things heading into this game from both sides of the football. To key in, though, on the Chargers side is Charger beat reporter Alex Insdorf joining us now, host of Bolt Breakdowns. And Alex, we appreciate you making some time on what has to be an incredibly busy night. Yeah. I'll start with this. Have you heard anything just out of Brazil, how the Chargers are feeling heading into this game, the mindset, the thought process, the travel, everything that comes with starting the season in an international game.
I think they feel good. They got there Tuesday. I think a little bit before the Chiefs got there. They've had time to adjust. They had practice there on Wednesday. So I think ultimately they feel like pretty rested and everything's good for this game. They had a Mekhi Becton injury scare today, but he's going to go. Was questionable with an illness, but he is going to play tonight. So I think they feel that pretty much going into this game, Najee Harris is good. He was a full participant in practice. Elijah Molden at safety is good. I think they feel that as far as taking the best shot at the Chiefs tonight, they have the horses, probably the best and most healthiest team that they'll have all year.
Well, from that health perspective, there were two question marks heading into this game. One answered about an hour or so ago that Mekhi Becton, would he be able to go? He's in. The other was confirmed a couple of days ago, but maybe the more relevant, Alex, which is Najee Harris. Harris is going to play. How much seems to be a question. What are your expectations from the LA backfield in this game?
Yeah, so Harbaugh apparently told Rich Eisen a few days ago that Omarion Hampton is going to be the starter at running back, which ends the streak for Najee Harris of 71 straight games as a starter. Not surprising to me, given that Najee missed most of training camp and pretty much ramped himself up back into game shape over the last week or two that he's been practicing. So I sort of expect the backfield split to be something along the lines of Hampton getting 60 to 65% of the carries. I think you'll see 20 or 30 Najee's way. He'll be in on some of the blocking downs, I would expect, especially too. And then they also have Hassan Haskins as their third running back. Harbaugh's former Michigan back, who's involved in special teams and a lot of stuff. Depending on Najee's conditioning tonight, I could see them throwing him out there for a few offensive snaps, but I do think this is primarily a big lean on Hampton game.
And that, I think, is music to the ears of folks who will be betting him tonight. Alex, can I ask you just on Hampton? This is he's my pick to win Offensive Rookie of the Year. Even if Genty is the better player, and I think they might be a little bit closer, I think Hampton is in the better situation on the better football team. Do you think I'm overselling it a little bit? It sounds like maybe you agree.
Yeah, no, I think I went through my picks for offensive, defense, all the awards the other day, and Hampton's was the one that kind of made the most sense to me. I think he's, like you said, in the right situation. I think, because of unfortunately how Najee's offseason is gone, I think he's going to enter the season as an overwhelming RB1 in terms of his production, in terms of the volume he's going to get in this offense. I think he can do some stuff out of the backfield, from a pass catching perspective too, that J.K. Dobbins and some of the backs that they had last year don't necessarily excel in. So I think he brings some extra skill sets in that regard. So I don't think it's an oversell at all. I think he could certainly be in contention with a Genty, with a Cam Ward in order to win that award.
And then, Alex, and again, we really appreciate you making time for us here heading into this game. Make sure you guys follow Alex over on Twitter as well. I know you'll be covering it throughout. You can find him, Alex Insdorf, 99. The pass catching room. We know Ladd McConkey's a superstar. A lot of questions outside of that. I think there's a lot of upside, which is great, but maybe not a lot of clarity. What is your read on everything behind Ladd McConkey?
Yeah, so I think Ladd is going to be their primary slot/outside receiver. I think the three wide receivers that are going to be like your key starters tonight are going to be Ladd McConkey, Quentin Johnston, and Keenan Allen. That is kind of what the Chargers rolled into their first preseason game with. Quentin Johnston did have a concussion in that game, cleared concussion protocol, I believe, at the end of last week. So he's good to go. And then I think you will see a mix-in of their second and fifth round picks, Trey Harris and Keandre Lambert-Smith, who are both active tonight. So I think they'll also get in the mix, but I think banking on, the veterans that they already have on the roster in McConkey and Johnson and Allen, I do think that is the main receiving trio. And then depending on how this game goes, as well as, how the season goes, I think you can certainly see KLS as well as Trey Harris earning more of a spot and more volume in that rotation.
Alex, let me actually ask you this quickly before we let you get out of here, though, because I probably would be remiss to not bring up Justin Herbert before his season gets underway. I think when we evaluate pressure on different big-time quarterbacks, it's all varying. But I think we all know for Herbert, the regular season and the postseason have been two different things, and it'll be a different thing when the playoffs start if they are in that mix. But what are your expectations for Justin Herbert entering this season?
Yeah, I think for Justin, it is building off of what he did in this offense last year. I think without having to install stuff, he was injured at the beginning of last season. I think this should be an offense that flows a little bit better than it did at the beginning of last year. So to me, my expectations are, a season that rivals, his 2022, 2023 production, where he was in that 30 touchdown, keeps the interceptions downrange, makes a run at, 4,000 yards. Obviously, they're going to want to establish the run. But I do think this is a big stats year for Justin Herbert as far as the offense around him just being a little bit more conducive to getting him there. And then, as you kind of noted, the national media conversation will be all about, hey, what is he going to do when the playoff games come? And that's what's going to matter the most to the national media. And that's fair to a degree. But I think just as far as Herbert taking care of business this regular season, I think he has more weapons and probably an overall better offensive line approach this year.
Excited to watch it play out, man. I think the Chargers got themselves a good football team. We'll see if they put it all together. Alex Insdorf, we really appreciate you making some time. We'll close this out here on Game Time Decisions on SportsGrid next.
Want to play roulette? Here's a tip. European roulette has a lower house edge than American style. The lower the house edge, the better shot you have at winning. Most online casinos offer European roulette. So, if I were you, I'd get spinning. Now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
Like it or not, 18-year-olds dropped with a whole heck of a lot of money in there. Boy, yeah. I tell you, it changes people, Donnie, and it's a new reality that we better get used to in college football because look at the kid from UCLA, former Tennessee quarterback, making millions of dollars. You really think he cares? They got absolutely embarrassed and trounced.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
When is Caitlin Clark coming back? Is it in this regular season? Is it going to be to start the postseason? Is it not at all? It's one of the most fascinating things of this WNBA season that we aren't talking about with regularity because it's just been so long. And, I know it may not feel it, but Caitlin Clark's last game was the 15th of July.
Game Time Decisions, only on SportsGrid.
The Dallas Cowboys losing that pass rush, losing another big impact player on the defensive side, all this does is make me like Dak Prescott more and CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens more because what we talked about all offseason, right, Matt, which is, hey, when Dak is healthy, he is a top 5 fantasy quarterback, and the defense we think is okay, but we think they're going to be in a lot of shootouts. Now I definitely think there's going to be a lot more shootouts.
Fantasy Sports Today, only on SportsGrid.
Game Time Decisions on a Friday night on SportsGrid. Kevin Walsh with you. It is In-Game Live. Coming up next, right here, covering you throughout a big-time matchup in Brazil between the Chiefs and the Chargers. And In-Game Live has you covered throughout the weekend. I will be on Pro Football today from 11 to 1 p.m. with Joe Lisi. But our crew on Game Time Decisions would like to try and have you covered throughout the weekend to the best of our ability. We will start with Saturday. Three big games that I believe everybody will be in the mix with. None bigger than Michigan and Oklahoma. And we spoke to Coach Terry Bowden. He's rolling with OU and Brett Venables at home and that defense, and I get it. The thing is, this spread was 2.5 on a look ahead last week. Now 5.5. I watched a lot of Michigan because I was all over New Mexico. And I know they didn't come close to covering. But New Mexico had a couple of things really break their way. And Bryce Underwood looked great. And for OU, they were still throwing against Illinois State in the middle of the fourth quarter. And I don't love that. And Sharon Moore, in his run out, his last 5 games, has put together a lot more than Venables arguably has during his entire time at OU. The upset of Ohio State, beating Alabama as well, nearly upsetting a college football playoff team in Indiana, a 46-point blowout in a conference game against Northwestern. I think Sharon Moore might be the better coach. I think Bryce Underwood might be the better quarterback. I think 5.5 points is too many here. I'll take them with the Wolverines. We open SEC play. That matters. It's Ole Miss, it's Kentucky, and it's a revenge spot for Lane Kiffin and the Rebels. They can point to a couple of close losses last year that cost them their season, but LSU was solid, and so was Florida. Kentucky was not, and they never should have lost that football game to start their season at home in SEC play, and it cost them a trip to the college football playoff. So an 8.5-point spread that sits out there, for me, under double digits, close to a gift. I don't trust the Kentucky offense, and the beautiful thing is I know Kiffin will run it up if the opportunity presents itself. I'm going to roll with Ole Miss on the road to start SEC action. The first of the big bunch is a rivalry in state. That's Iowa State. I'll play the over, 41.5. The juice on those are incorrect. That's okay. You know what the plays are. Give me over 41.5. Rocco Beck can sling it. And I think Iowa's offense, I know they got off to a slow start this season. Everybody thought it was going to be good. The ground game still looked as you expect. And this total dropped from 45 down to 41.5. A little bit of an overreaction. We'll take points in the Cy-Hawk battle. How about a Friday 5? The usual suspects, me, Chris, Sam, AJ, and a mystery picker. We'll see how they do. Give me Josh Jacobs over 17.5 rush attempts, plus 101. Went over that in 8 of 11 Packer wins last season. Packers booked as a favorite, and I think they'll look to use Jacobs primarily against what could be a much improved pass defense for Detroit. Lions money line, though, is the play for the mystery man. Can't get mad at that. It's another plus money shot for AJ on Seattle against the Niners. We'll see where that closes depending on the McCaffrey news. Cincinnati and Cleveland under the number for Yarnell. That is a spot where Burrow is expected to put it up. Maybe he will. Maybe that improved Bengals defense will keep the Browns low scoring. Chris goes to Mike Evans. Anytime touchdown score. Mike Evans, anytime touchdown score. Doesn't need really a lot for me to sell you on a play like that, but Evans has actually scored a touchdown, 7 touchdowns in 9 week 1 starts in his career, dominated Atlanta as a member of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and that very well could continue. One final order of business, the best bets for this game here tonight. The first is in action. And for Sam Yarnell, it's the JMU quarterback Alonzo Barrett to score a touchdown. He's not scored yet. He has thrown one. JMU absolutely has Louisville on upset alert. Chris is going to go with Kelsey and Hampton, some alt yardage at plus 105, 40 receiving for Kelsey, 50 rush receiving for Hampton. I am charged up. I think the Chargers win this game, but I don't need to go out there and worry about the money line because 3.5 is valuable. Because the Chiefs, in more than half of their victories of the Mahomes-Herbert matchups, have won by exactly 3. I am happy to get a field goal. Plus, again, you can slap a boost on, juice that thing up. If it lands 3, you can push if that's the best you can do. And if you say K-Dub's confident, I am going to take the money line, then do it. I'll be rooting it on just the same. Harbaugh has never lost in week 1 in his career as an NFL head coach. 6-0 on deck. In-game live, even more on deck on SportsGrid.